Have you been trying to find the right time to level up your professional dog trainer skills, knowledge, and certification? No matter where you are on your journey, the Victoria Stilwell Academy's dog trainer course is here to help you chase your dreams as a professional dog trainer. Just visit vsdta.com to get in touch, enroll in a free course, or apply now. That's vsdta.com. Again, go to vsdta.com to learn more now. This seems to be an issue, a behavior issue that is happening all around the Western world, because the amount of calls and emails that I get asking for me to help people with their dogs that are having separation anxiety, well, I can't even count. And so today I thought it was important to bring on one of my amazing VSPDTs. Her name is Nicola Cook from Poochie People in York, UK. And she is a CSAT, so a certified separation anxiety trainer. And she is here to talk about all things separation anxiety and other stuff as well. Welcome, Nicola, to the podcast.
Oh, thank you for such a nice welcome. Good to see you. Thank you for having me here.
Well, I'm so glad you're here because, look, this seems to be getting to be a really big problem. I mean, it's been a big problem for many years. And then what we hear is that since the pandemic, it's got even worse. And some people say, well, that's true. And others say, well, it's always been bad. Others say, well, because we're working a lot. And as our environments get busier and we have more and more dogs in urban environments, certainly, where that it's just too much. So from your perspective, what are you seeing on the ground there in the UK right now?
So I think you're totally right in what you're saying, that the pandemic definitely highlighted a lot of separation issues. I mean, we get inundated with inquiries, like you said, for various types of separation issues. And I don't know whether it was more common before or whether it's a case of more and more people do still work from home. So whether neighbours are hearing it more, whereas if everybody was out the house during the day, maybe they didn't realise that dogs were barking whilst people were gone. I think we're getting better at recognising the signs of a dog with separation anxiety. So, the old school kind of trainers where it would be, you come home from work and your dog's destroyed everything. Well, they're just being naughty. They just don't want you to leave, so they're being naughty. Whereas now we're recognising that no, they're doing this because they're in real considerable distress. I think as well, people are recognising that if a dog who's normally really well toilet trained is suddenly eliminating when they leave the house, they're going, oh, could this be something other than just that they're just doing it to be naughty? I think there's a combination. I do also think that obviously there is a whole bunch of puppies who were used to having somebody there at the beginning. So the kind of the pandemic puppies, the dogs who are like 5 years old now, who once their owners did need to start going back to work, it became evident that they just couldn't cope with it because they had never been exposed to that before. Does that make sense? I mean, a lot of separation issues do come down to genetics. So I certainly don't want people to be hearing that and thinking, oh my gosh, because I work from home, I've caused my dog's separation anxiety. That's not what I'm getting at all. But obviously in the early days with those puppies, they didn't have the normal, we're going to get you used to this, because they didn't have to. And so many people got puppies around that time, which was great in a way because, yeah, they could give more time and attention to their dogs. But I think then it was a massive shock to those dogs when suddenly they're going from having their guardians there all the time to actually we need to go into the office 3 days a week. So I think there's lots of different things in play. I think another big thing we need to recognize, those dogs from 5 years ago that were puppies then are having puppies now. So then that anxiety is being bred into the line.
Yeah.
And like I just said, a lot of separation issues are genetic. So we're then breeding kind of the next generation of it as well, not knowingly, but I think a lot of people don't realize that side of things. So there's lots of things going on.
So for people who aren't trainers, because we do have a lot of trainers listening and a lot of other animal care
Yeah.
professionals listening to this, for people who aren't, for dog lovers that are just joining here or listen to this podcast because there's such great information on here and I have fabulous
Yeah.
guests. But for people who are listening, what does separation anxiety look like?
In terms of what you would see from your dog.
Yes, because we know that a lot of people will say their dogs have separation anxiety when they don't have separation anxiety at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So, what does it look like? What are the classic signs?
So the big three, obviously I've just covered a couple there. One is if your dog is normally perfectly toilet trained and you are coming home to them having eliminated, even if you've just walked up the road, you'll come back and they'll have done a little wee by the back door, which they would never normally do. That would be a little bit of an alarm bell for me. Some dogs can also become so distressed that they'll vomit. So again, if you're thinking, oh, their food doesn't seem to be settling right, but then you look at when they're vomiting and it's always when you're out of the house, it's never when you're in the house. Again, that's another thing I would look at. Or if they are destroying things, and I don't just mean your normal kind of, they've had one of their teddy bears and they've pulled all the bits off it. I mean, they are biting furniture, things like that. And it's not something that they do normally. So they wouldn't normally do that when you're in the house. They're not just a chewer. It's not just a staffy who loves a good chew on something. They're chewing, they're really destroying things, digging up carpets. Look at your exit areas. If a lot of where they're destroying stuff is near doors, that's a real sign that something's not quite right. Skirting boards, the carpet at the bottom of the door itself, anything, if a lot of activity is happening around whatever door you either shut them in or the exit, if they're loose around the whole house and it's around the exit door, that would be a worry. Curtains are another one. So curtains and blinds because they've been looking out the window trying to get out. If they go in things like crates and things, have they got any injuries? Have they hurt their paws? Are you coming home and they've scratched and hurt themselves? If they seem to be digging in their crate. And we know what the next big one is, vocalizing. So a lot of dogs who have separation issues will vocalize when their guardians leave. I think I can totally understand why so many people say, oh, they only bark for a few minutes and then they calm down, because as they're leaving, they hear the barking, they just assume it calms down. But if you don't have a pet cam, how do you know? How do you know that that's not carrying on all day or even intermittently all day? It might calm down for 20 minutes because they've completely tired themselves out. They wake up, go, oh, I'm still on my own, and panic again. A lot of people find out their dogs have separation issues from this because neighbours will tell them, or they'll receive a bit of a cross letter through their letterbox. Your dog barks all day. Did you realise? Or sometimes, I don't know how it works in America, but obviously in the UK it would be your council sending you like a noise complaint letter. So that's a really common way for people to find out that their dog has separation issues. And sometimes those dogs don't show any other sign. So no elimination, no destroying of anything. They come home, the dog's acting totally normal, but they've spent all day barking. So those are kind of the big three. There are lots of little telltale signs, such as your dog getting it's normal for a dog, as you know, to be curious about where you might be going when you're getting ready to go out. You know, oh, are we going for a walk? Are we doing something exciting? Am I coming with you? Where are you going? That's normal. But if the dog is panting, pacing, trying to physically stop you leaving, you know, getting in front of the door, biting at your feet, jumping up at you, trying to stop you unlocking the door, trying to dart out to the car and jump in to stop you leaving without them, again, set a camera up, because it's not normal for a dog to be as stressed as that when you're leaving. It's also not normal for them to be completely overwhelmed when you come back in. It's normal for them to come and greet you, of course, and be excited to see you. But if they look like they are completely exasperated, chances are they've probably been pacing and barking and doing everything they can to get out of the house. And they're like, oh, thank God for that, you're back.
And then
So,
they sack out. Then they're just exhausted
so tired.
afterwards.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the things that I get quite upset by when people say to me, my dog barks for half an hour, but then they stop. And they've only recorded them for that short amount of time. If you recorded them for the full day, they're doing that on and off all day. And imagine how exhausting that would be. And the panic that they feel is real panic. You know, it's a fear. And if imagine that every day. And I think I have a Velcro dog who, as you know, has had separation issues in the past. And some dogs are just like that, but they're absolutely fine once you're out of the house. But a lot of dogs who have separation issues are almost obsessively with you. So they want to be, and there's a good reason for that. They want to make sure you're not going out that front door. They're keeping their eye on you. And then every time you move, they're like, oh, is she going? Where are they going? And they're keeping a very close eye on you to make sure you're not going out that door. So they'll fall asleep on people's feet. They'll laying across you, because that way they're not going to miss it. They're not going to get taken by surprise. You've not suddenly gone, because they know exactly where you are at all times.
You said that word panic, and that makes it even worse when people blame the dog when they come back and they see that everything's destroyed and they blame the dog. The dog's been naughty. And of course, when you have a bad trainer, then the dog is going to get it, right? There's going to be things that are put in place. The dog's going to be put in a crate so it can't destroy everything. Everything is going to be for humans and not for the dog. And then, of course, crates seem to be the worst thing for dogs that have separation issues. But
Yeah.
that word panic, you know what you feel like. If anybody who has been panicky or had a panic before, you know it is terrifying. And
Yeah.
for
So it's,
dogs to go through that all the time, every day you are out, or every time you go out, and they can't get out because, of course, they're confined, whether they're still got the run of your house or whether they're behind a
yeah,
baby gate or behind a door or whatever, they're still confined because you've gone.
that's it. And it isn't just the panic that you've gone. Obviously, the alone time is the hardest bit for them. But I've actually written a blog about this just this last week. And I was trying to think of a really good name for this blog, and my partner came up with Fear the Door No More, which I thought was quite a good name for it, a bit of a play on words. And that was about that door becomes such a trigger for any dog with separation issues. And it becomes a trigger for you as the human that's going through the process of trying to help your dog with separation issues, because that's kind of the barrier that you've got to get across to be able to calmly leave your dog. And I think when you come home and your dog's destroyed things and things like that, there are lots of dogs who were just having a party. They weren't panicked. They were
Right,
having a
exactly.
great
I've had
time.
some of those dogs too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why the assessment from somebody who knows what they're doing is so important, because I would be able to tell you straight away by watching a dog when you leave, that's a party or that is panic. And if it's panic, it doesn't just begin when you open that door and leave. As you know, that panic begins every time you look like you're about to leave. I'm going to go down the street to put the bin out. Or I know over in America you have like mailboxes at the end of your
Yes.
drive. Um, are they going to do that? Or are they leaving me for 3 hours? They don't know. So they look for every tiny little clue that you might be going. And dogs are so clever at figuring out our routine with everything else. So this applies to that. They know 2 hours before we're going sometimes. If we follow a routine every morning and then we leave,
Pretty
I've known dogs.
people are pretty pattern orientated, aren't we?
That's
I
right.
mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
we seek patterns in a lot of things like animals do, but we seek patterns, and so we have our certain patterns that we do every morning, certainly before going to work,
Yeah.
where all of these the dog is watching you all the time.
That's right. And I mean, I've known dogs not want to go for their morning walk or not want to come back from their morning walk because they know that's when they're leaving. So they're so clever. They pick up on all these different little cues. And that's why when we begin a program, we have to strip everything away and start again. We have to take away the trigger, which is what people find so difficult about it because it's it, like any behavior modification that you're doing, you can't continue to expose the dog to that trigger day in, day out and expect to be able to help them to become okay with it. So if you're wanting your dog to be okay with being on their own for 3 hours, you can't carry on leaving them every day for 3 hours. We've got to take that away, think of ways for them to have somebody with them all the time, whilst we then build up that time. Because dogs, they just, it would be like if you were frightened of heights and we were going to say, right, we'll go one rung up the ladder every day. And then, but that once a week, we're just going to put you on the top of the Eiffel Tower and we're going to expect you to be okay with it. It's not going to work. It's just going to completely ruin all the hard work that you've been doing. So that's why usually things like just putting out food treats, creating absolute no. A dog that's frightened of being on their own usually finds being confined really stressful because then they can't even do any of the behaviors that they might do to make themselves feel a bit better, such as pacing and things. I mean, I know we don't want them to be pacing, but if we're putting them in a crate or they're just as panicked, but now they've got no way of trying to calm themselves down. But yeah, food treats and things like that. A dog who's petrified is rarely going to want to eat anyway. And I mean, a Labrador might.
A
You might find
Labrador.
that a Labrador might eat the whole lot and then go, okay, now I'm going to panic. I've
Yeah,
eaten
I
all my
mean, but
treats and now I'm going to panic.
then there's that sort of they're gonna potential there's going to be that conflict there between, the food actually in
Yeah,
itself becomes
like
we
a
call them
trigger.
like it is a trigger, and it's not a great trigger. And I was working with a dog called Scooby. In fact, this was covered on It's Me or the Dog a long time ago in New York. I think it was around 2010. And actually, yes, the dog lived in New York or New Jersey, I forget where. And Scooby was a pit bull, American bulldog, Rhodesian Ridgeback mix.
Oh wow,
Big,
I bet he
big
was
dog,
big.
beautiful dog. Very, very powerful. When I walked into this house, it was destroyed, and not the whole house, the front of the
No.
house was destroyed. They had boards up on the windows,
Oh
on the
gosh.
first floor windows. They had bars up, and the window panes were cracked. When I spoke to the couple, I mean, the guy he was just exasperated. He wanted to get rid of the dog. The woman was
Oh,
like, absolutely no, no way, not going to give up on him. But this is a dog that had actually got through the windows, gone through the windows seven
wow.
times
So
and
broke the glass.
broke the glass, broke it,
Wow.
got through, and cut itself, so it was full of scars. I mean, this family were absolutely desperate. Now, they'd had a trainer before me and they'd had a number of trainers. I was the last resort, as I always
Oh
feel like
gosh.
I'm being called in as the last resort.
Yeah.
But I, the trainer before me had suggested that Scooby need to not only wear a shock collar, but also be put in a crate. And the crate wouldn't be put in the house, the crate would be put into the garage or the garage. And
Okay.
so the garage was on the side of the house. You couldn't get in from the garage into the house, except there was a door, but it was a door that the family didn't use very much.
Right.
So normally they access the garage from the outside. Anyway, so they put the dog in a crate in the garage. They put the garage door down. And in the afternoon, they received a call from their neighbors, your dog is out.
Had he chewed his way through
Scooby
the
had
garage
got
door?
out of the crate and chewed his way through the garage door.
Oh my
This
gosh.
is, can you imagine? I went to the garage and I was like, I saw the crate, it was all broken, and I just was like, I can't believe this. I cannot believe what some trainers advised for this dog. And the shock collar went into the trash and the crate was thrown away. I was like, can you imagine? Your dog has already gone out the window 7 times. I get it. I understand you're totally desperate. These people were
Yeah,
totally desperate. And amazingly, they still hadn't given up on their dog. So that tells you something about them, right?
it does. It
Their
does.
house is destroyed. They still haven't given up. And yet they were like, we don't know what else we can do. So, of course, they followed the advice to put the dog in the garage with the crate. Maybe that's going to help. But of course, they were so shocked to get the call. And I saw the hole that was eaten. It was a wooden door, so I saw the hole that was eaten through.
Oh
Could you
my
imagine the
gosh.
panic of that dog not only going out that window 7 times, 7 different times, but also to chew its way out? And that's what now, not all dogs are going to be severe, but when we're talking about panic, that's panic. This is a big, large dog who loves his mum and dad, loves his family. Otherwise, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
It's great. But that he cannot be left alone. And it's when the whole family goes out. He is particularly attached to mum, but he can still just be when mum isn't there. He doesn't really like it, but they had a son. So when dad and son are there, he's okay.
Hmm.
He's still looking out the window, but he's not in that full blown panic.
Yeah. Yeah, I do see that quite a lot actually, where a dog out of two guardians, they'll have one that they can cope less well with them leaving. That is really common, but they're okay. As long as they've got a warm body there to curl up next to, they can cope. But once they're completely on their own, full blown panic. And I think the problem is when you think of things like reactivity, dogs being frightened of traveling in the car. Okay, reactivity maybe isn't the best example because it's quite difficult to avoid of the dogs, isn't it? Because the he's friendly brigade will let their dog run at yours, but
Yeah.
generally,
Don't worry, he's
uh,
friendly. Well,
yeah,
mine isn't.
they're the bane of my life, especially when I've got a bright yellow jacket on that says "Do not approach," and people let their dogs run up to us. But
Oh my
anyway,
God, they're just so
um,
annoying. We need
so
to do
annoying.
better training with
I
with the
know,
friendly brigade.
so annoying.
I love that
The
title,
I'm
by the
friendly
way.
brigade. Yeah, so annoying. But you can avoid dogs. You can avoid dogs if you go to enclosed fields or if you go off into remote woods and things. You can avoid putting your dog in a car if they really hate it, most of the time. And I think where it's so difficult for separation parents, and I've been that separation parent, and I was told by a neighbour that my dog was barking while I was out. I had no idea. He showed no other signs of being stressed. He didn't even look that stressed before I left him, to be honest. He looked a bit like, oh, where are you going? But it wasn't full blown panic. He didn't destroy anything or anything like that. And I just got told by a neighbor who worked from home, did you know he's barking all day? And I had no idea. And I was absolutely devastated. And I've been that person to go, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I just going to, I can't just stay with him all the time. So I totally get it. And as a CSAT, part of the program that we do is we help you with that. So that's called our management plan. And we come up with ways that your dog doesn't need to be alone whilst we build up that time. And obviously, we hope that that time won't be for too long. So eventually, I'll be saying, okay, now you can just pop out for half an hour because they're okay with that now. Until we get them to the further stages, we can still only, you can still only go up the road to Tesco and back, but the initial you cannot leave your house or well, you cannot leave your dog is only short-lived. And I mean, I've just said there you cannot leave your house, but actually you can, because we will think of ways. We will get other people involved. We'll get dog sitters, we'll get boarders, we'll get whatever we need to get so that you are able to still live a life whilst we undergo the program. And the thing is, if you kind of don't address it, it does tend to get worse, like any behavior, because like we said, dogs are not stupid. They figure out that you're going to leave them, and that panic just gets more and more each day because they don't ever have time to get their adrenaline levels down again before you're leaving again. So, when you're working with, say, a reactive dog and they've had a particularly bad walk, and you say, do you know what, tomorrow we're not going to go out. Let's just stay here. You can have a day to just settle yourself down. We'll play some games, get your adrenaline levels down. If a dog's being left day after day after day, there's no time for that. So each day, all of those hormones are just getting more and more stressed. And the whole issue is just going to become worse and worse. And that's often when people contact me. Like you just said, people then contact me, help. I've tried everything. I've tried everything on Google. I've had other trainers in. Fortunately, I'm quite lucky in that we have a really good, nice little network of trainers in the York area. There are only a couple who I won't associate with because they use aversive methods, and absolutely no chance I would ever associate with them. The vast majority are really lovely trainers, and we're really good at networking with each other.
Oh, that's so important, I tell you. It
So
is so
important.
important. If being a trainer, if you've got your own business and it's just you, it can be quite a lonely life.
Absolutely.
If you can network with people in your area, not only is that great for social wise, but it's also great for referrals.
That's it. And we're all very much, we will, it's you that said this to me before, like stay in your lane. If you know what you're good at, I know separation, noise phobia, those are my things. And there aren't really any other trainers in this area who deal with separation stuff. So they're really good at going, this is not my thing. I don't know enough about it, but this is someone who does. Same as me with lead pullers, just not my thing. I just refer to, there's another great trainer in the area. I just refer to him. I know he's the guy for it, not my thing. And we're all really good at that. So fortunately, I don't get too many people who've had loads of trainers in and it's made it worse. Not for separation anyway, I do for other stuff. But yeah, so fortunately, but usually when people come to me, they are at the end of their tether. They've usually tried all of the Dr. Google techniques and quickly realized that they're not helping them, which, to be fair, even as a trainer, is what I did with my own dog. I read all the books, tried all the things, and wasn't getting anywhere. And I think I just took a bit of a step back and I was like, hold on a minute. Everything that you know about dogs, none of this makes sense. Why would he suddenly be interested in a treat toy while he's going out of his mind with panic? Why would he care about that in that moment? And how long, even if he was, that's only going to take him 10 minutes to do. What about the rest of the time? And I kind of stripped it back and realized that we needed to go way back to basics, start right at the very bottom. And that's why I went on to obviously do my CSAT course, because I just wanted to help other people who'd been in the position I had, because I knew how isolating it was. And I also know how much rubbish advice you get from other trainers, other owners, Google. Very
It,
much the just let them cry it out, people,
oh
um,
gosh, let them cry.
which is
That one,
absolutely the
that
worst thing you
is
can do.
terrible. Don't ever do that. That's a one way to really make your dog anxious, especially
That's
with as a puppy as well. Don't do it. The let them cry
yeah,
out crowd. Mm-mm. And there are
yeah,
studies to show actually how detrimental it is for children, for a baby.
yeah, yeah.
And so and there's a lot of parallels between these vulnerable beings, our little ones, whether they be kids and dogs. And so
Yeah.
I think we need to pay attention. All right, so when we come back, I'd like to talk a bit more about what do you do,
Hmm.
and also to say that I am I really want to focus on dogs being dogs, because I think there's a big shift going on in the dog training world, and I'd like to talk about that before we go into the nuts and bolts of what you do with separation issues. We'll be right back.
Are you and your dog struggling with reactivity? You're not alone. The good news is that we've created a completely new approach to managing your dog's reactivity, and it's available for you and your dog right now. Go to positively.com, click Take a Course, and choose Help Stop Reactivity to enroll in this game-changing online course for you and your dog today. That's positively.com.
I'm speaking with Nicola Cook about separation issues, separation anxiety, and I want to pivot a little bit and talk about letting dogs be dogs and the pressures that we put dogs under, and the confinement that we put dogs in for our benefit. I'm not saying that dogs aren't having a great time, because many dogs live fabulous lives and they sleep on the sofa and they eat great food and they go on walks and they have doggy friends and human friends, and it's an amazing relationship when it works. But when things don't go right, or when either people are struggling or dogs are struggling, we know that a lot of the times when people blame dogs, it's not the dog's fault at all. It's in the environment that the dog lives in. And sometimes it's not the people's fault. As I said, sometimes I've had a lot of people blame themselves. I'm like, no, it's not. Please don't blame yourself. It's not you. This could be a genetic component. Nothing that you've done has made your dog like this. And then sometimes human behavior can exacerbate problems. We are about to launch in the fall, in autumn, the new Reactivity the Zones Approach, where it is a really exciting, and it is a new way of working with reactive behavior. Now,
Oh
this is
wow.
not
Okay.
anything to do with separation issues. So, but I just want to say one of the reasons why it is so different is because a lot of the protocols out there that deal with reactivity are very much centered on desensitization and counter conditioning.
Yeah.
And for some dogs, that's great. For some people, it's great. But for some, it's not.
Hmm.
And there has to be an alternative. And the alternative is the program that we've come up with, the Zones Approach, that has nothing to do with desensitization and counter conditioning protocols,
Okay.
and all to do with environment.
Right. Okay.
But you got to watch this space now. Already there is a guardian facing course out there on Positively where you can find out more about the zones And so for all of those people, this is for trainers and guardians as well. If you want to go, it's already at positively.com. It's Help Stop Reactivity, and there's 4 great lessons within the course. But for trainers who like, I need to have more tools in my toolbox, I want to find another way, then the Reactivity, the Zones approach is coming out. It is for trainers, it is for professionals, and it is coming out in the autumn. And we are really excited about it because it is a much more holistic way of looking at reactivity that doesn't center on protocols, that center on exposure, that really center on testing. I say to people, I'm like, or our team, we go, you want your dog that is reacting outside to trust you. But if you are exposing your dog to the thing that it is uncomfortable with, even at a great distance, you're still testing.
Yeah.
So if you're building up relationship on testing, are you trustworthy? That's what started this whole conversation about and created the Zones approach. So I think that is part of our new a way of looking at dogs and behavior and the way that we live our lives with them and the way they live their lives with us, an approach that is much more encompassing. And I'm excited to share that. So
it sounds really good.
It is. I presented at Animal Behavior Kent, and I will be presenting at APDT US this year in November as well. If you haven't got your tickets for APDT International Conference in Richmond, Virginia, get them. And they're amazing speakers. And I will be speaking about Reactivity, the Zones approach there. But it is, if I say groundbreaking, I think it is because nobody's doing it. People might be doing little bits.
Yeah.
But nobody's doing this, and sometimes it's going to take a pivot. Sometimes when people are very much sort of in their way, stuck in their ways, it might be difficult for them to go, oh, but it also might be an absolute gift. And for trainers that are now using it, it is a gift. For the dogs and the clients, it is a gift. So looking at environment, when we're talking about separation issues, how important is it that you set up an environment that will help the dog through its challenges? How important is environment in terms of sights, in terms of sounds, in terms of smells?
Yeah. So that would all come under like the management part, as you know. So we've got on one side, we've got our actual plan, which is our systematic desensitization to the leaving process, to alone time. And then we've got our management plan, which is where we need to ensure that the dog is not on their own for longer than they can cope with, for a start. If the dog likes a little cozy corner, so can I name one of the puppies that I'm working with?
If you're okay with that, if the client's
so
fine.
yeah, they will be.
Yep.
She'll love it that he's famous. So little Chewy, who's a little puppy that I'm working with, his guardian was like, Nicola, he likes being in a box. And I was like, okay, well, let him go in a box then. And she was like, but I feel like he looks like a little homeless puppy just in his little box. And he hated a crate, hated it. She set him up a bed in this box. He loves it. So things like that, where is the dog at now? Where do they put themselves when you go out? I'm not talking at, when they're scratching at the door and things. When we've got a little bit further down the line and they take themselves to a little safe space and people are saying, well, I thought we were going to have a baby gate there, or I thought we were going to have this. I think with separation issues where the dog's been destroying things, people get worried, obviously, understandably, about their furniture and things. But what I remind people is they're not going to be alone for longer than they can cope with. So they're not going to revert to that behaviour, because we're going to make sure that they're always below that level that they can cope with. So we don't need to worry about them chewing the furniture, because the only time that they're going to be teetering anywhere near that, I'm going to be watching them during reassessments, and I'm going to make sure if they look like they're planning on chewing something, I'm going to be getting you back to the house way before that. So if people are really, really worried, then I say confine the item, don't confine the dog. So if you really don't want them on the sofa, put a pen around the sofa so that the dog doesn't think that they are being confined, but the sofa's safe, or put the bin out in a different room, or if they tend to go through the bin, things like that. I think it's really important, like I say, to meet the dog where they are at. My dog's safe space is my bed, of course.
Mine too, actually. Yeah.
Every bed going. Most expensive beds you can think of, memory foam mattresses for dogs, everything. No, he prefers the king size. So that's his kind of safe zone. If a dog is, so I'm sure you know this, but there's quite a big correlation between noise sensitivity and dogs with separation.
It was something I was going to ask you.
Hugely.
So I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, so loads of dogs who have separation issues are noise sensitive, which adds in another layer of difficulty, because the dog might be coping quite well with being on their own until bin day. And then along comes the big bin lorry, makes lots of noise, everything goes out the window. So when people say, I've tried making sure all the curtains are closed, putting Alexa on, all these things, those things alone won't fix your dog's separation anxiety, but they can be part of the plan. What we need to be careful of is anything that is going to become a PDQ, so a pre-departure cue. So we don't want the dog to see you closing the curtains and know that means you're going to leave. But we can change the way that we do things. So we can close the curtains half an hour before, things like that. And again, because we're not going to leave them for longer than they can cope with, we know they're still going to be okay with it, if you see what I mean. Things like, so my dog really likes listening to like calming music, like Through a Dog's Ear and things like that.
We love Through a Dog's Ear.
Yes, yeah.
It's the Icon Pet now. You can, it's Icon Pet, and we love that music. And in fact, we have, if you want to get it, positively.com, go on there. You can hear some of it as well. It's great music. Yeah.
Yeah, my dog loves it. So we listen to that quite a lot when I'm just in the house with him, so that he doesn't hear that music and think it's a leaving cue. He knows that's his nice calming music. Sometimes when it's on, I'm not here. Sometimes when it's on, I am here. Doesn't mean I'm leaving.
Yeah,
so
that's important. Don't.
Really
yeah,
important.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you mustn't. I think people unknowingly, unless they've been told not to, will start to do these certain cues. And then the music only comes out when you're leaving, or
exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's not good at all.
No, and there's no if your dog loves listening to music and it calms them down, there's absolutely no problem with that. But don't put it on just before you're going. I, again, will be able to tell somebody this is when we'll introduce the music so that it doesn't become a PDQ. I am a big advocate for plugins. I don't know whether I'm allowed to say the name of the one that I use.
Probably no. Not.
So like plugins with like the different again, like you mentioned about the smells. So it's like a
pheromones.
Nice, yeah. And I do also, if I feel the dog needs it, then I will recommend. Well, we always recommend a vet check anyway. But some dogs, medication is important. Other dogs are okay with just a herbal remedy. Some are fine with nothing. It all depends. It's all very bespoke to that particular dog.
I think that's important because it is individualized, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, completely.
I think a lot of trainers as well, they're like, oh, I want to deal with this myself, but I think it's really important, especially if you have great veterinary support there, to be able to contact your vet. Certainly with Scooby, I mean, I did all of this. I threw everything at it,
Yeah.
including consulting with the veterinarian, and he did go on medication. But if he'd just gone on medication alone, that wouldn't have helped him.
No,
We needed
no.
everything to help
Yeah.
him, and my goodness, did it. This
Yeah.
dog was, he was the same dog, but he was no longer panicky. He no
Yeah, his
longer, and
nervous
it was an
system was
amazing
settled.
result. But
Yeah.
so don't be scared about that. I think a lot of people are like, oh my God, medication. No, no, no.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
It's
sometimes a
necessary.
dog, especially when they are absolutely desperate, needs
Yeah,
it.
that's it. And it doesn't need to be forever. Sometimes it can be short term. Sometimes not. Sometimes it does need to be long term. But there, pain is another factor that comes into separation issues. Sometimes you can find that a lot of people will say, my dog has always been fine with being left on their own, and then they reach a certain age and suddenly they can't cope with it. So again, vets can assess for things like that and go, actually, they're struggling a bit. So
Yeah, you
pain
see that a
meds.
lot of when they say, oh, with elderly dogs. Oh,
Yeah.
it's very, very common for elderly
Yeah,
dogs to
very.
suddenly get separation anxiety. And you're like, wait a second,
Yeah, they've always been fine, but it
is
can.
that pain?
Yeah, that's right. Or cognition, one or the other. But again, a
Mhm.
vet can give you. So it's. I mean, I have really good links with the vets in York, and yeah, I totally trust them with their bit, and they trust me with mine. And it's really important to work collaboratively with them. But yeah, so when we're talking about environment, I think it is totally individual. But I think the most important thing is what that dog is comfortable with is how we will proceed. And we just need to be really careful that we don't introduce anything that's going to make them think, oh, that's an extra thing that they do before they leave.
Yeah, you're
So
layering it on.
that's right. So that's why it's so important to work with kind of a separation specialist, because I know exactly when that all needs to be introduced at the different parts of the program. At the beginning of the program, it's very much strip everything away, and this is where we're going to start, and then we add bits in.
And I want to say that you work virtually. In fact, CSATs work virtually. A lot of us
Absolutely,
trainers
yeah.
do because, and it's incredibly successful because you don't actually need to be there.
No, so I can literally do separation work with anyone in the whole world as long as they can speak English. I will try to learn lots of different languages, but I don't think I'll have any time. So as long as people can understand me and I can understand them, we can work together. In fact, one of my separation clients is deaf. So, and we're managing really well with lip reading across Zoom and things like that. So, it's pretty accessible. It's actually really important for it to be virtual, because if I was there, the dog's not on their own.
No, of course
So
not.
and I can't observe I would be observing the dog through a camera. So it works perfectly. And the great thing about what I love about doing separation work is, I don't know about you, but sometimes you do kind of your work with somebody, and then you sort of feel like you're just leaving them to it. And you check back in with them in a couple of weeks, and you're like, okay, where are we at? Let's get out our checklist. Well, actually, we've not got round to doing that yet, and we've not got round to doing that. And you think, oh, we went through all of this, and it was really important, and we've not got anywhere. What I really love about separation work is that we have contact with the guardian 5 days out of 7. Well, actually, we have contact with them 7 days out of 7, but 2 of them are to say, this is a day off. But the other 5 is actually contact with them via the sheets that we use or via Zoom, depending on what we're doing that day. And I really like that, because I feel like it's, I love reading through the sheets and seeing that they've had a great day. and going, yay, we've had such a good mission today. Everything's been brilliant. Yay, you know, and I'm there cheering them on. They're cheering them on. And we're kind of cheering them on together. You know, we usually call ourselves team whatever. So Seamus, one of a Tibetan terrier who just looks like a teddy bear, and I could just eat him. He's doing absolutely incredible at the moment, and he's just recently had a little regression, which, as you know, in training, it's never linear. So that's totally normal. And he's now back on track, and I feel like we all went through it together. It was like we were all there together, you know, cheering him on. Come on, you can do it. And I feel like, from having had a dog with a separation issue, I would have loved that hand holding. I would have loved somebody each day saying to me, it's not your fault. I've got you. I've got him. We're going to get through this together. And I think that for me is what I love so much about it, because I just feel like you're so involved. And don't get me wrong, you're involved when you do training with anyone, and anyone can contact me anytime, and my clients do. But I just feel like, because you've got that daily input, it's just, you really feel like you're in it with them.
Yeah.
And when you get those results at the end, like, and you just see the spring in the guardian steps. Seamus's dad won't mind me saying this. When we first began Seamus's program, we were stood in his kitchen, and I said to him, when we get to an hour, and he just went, I just don't see that. I can't see that we're ever going to get there. He was like, he can cope with 40 seconds. I can't see that we're ever going to get to 4 minutes, never mind an hour. And when we got to that hour and we were like, we did it, you know, it was just the feeling for those people, that hour, it's not just an hour, you know, it meant the world to them. It meant that if they want to just nip and see a friend for half an hour up the road, they can. If they've forgotten something shopping, they can just nip to the shop without having to think. You know, you're in that quandary, aren't you? Stood at your door when you've got a dog with separation issues. Your poor dog's one side panicking, your life's on the other side. And you've got things you need to do, but you love your dog and you don't want to leave them. And you're totally torn. And I feel like even just an hour just makes such a difference to people who literally couldn't leave their dog at all.
Well, separation issues shrink your world.
Completely.
Do.
Yeah.
Because you can't go out, you can't go for dinner. I mean, I've had so many clients of like, we're prisoners in our own home, and it might sound dramatic, but they are.
It is, yeah, and it isn't dramatic having had a dog with separation issues. That is exactly how you feel. You just feel like you can't, and you almost are made to feel daft by other people as well. What are you talking about? You can't come over because you're just going to upset your dog. Leave them, they'll be fine. You know, and even as a trainer, I feel like there were parts of me that was like, am I the problem here? You know, are they just going to be fine if I just leave them? Even I knew he wasn't. But you can totally see where people just get bamboozled with the whole thing. So yeah, I think I went off track a bit there, but
no, it's great because you answered a lot of my questions anyway. And I do think, look, it's I don't know what the statistics are. If anybody knows, email us at the podcast. But still very few dog guardians get trainers in to come and help them. And they continue to suffer. The dogs continue to suffer. They continue to suffer. Their world remains small. And then so many dogs, unfortunately, that do have separation issues end up in the shelters. And then that's even worse because then they've truly been abandoned. And now they're in a completely different place. But then they're going to get rehomed. And then when they get rehomed, now they've attached to a new family. And now, my God, they don't want that family to go out because and it's just a tragedy. So to have somebody like you, Nicola, to have people that have done the CSAC course and that are seasoned professionals, I would just, anybody who's on here and listening to this, please reach out. Please reach out, because these people can help you. It is vital. Do it now. And the wonderful thing is they don't have to be in your area.
No.
And it doesn't have to even to be in your country, as long as they speak
No.
your language. So,
and just whilst on that note as well, if there's anybody listening who is involved with rescues, I actually work with quite a few rescues in my area, and I give a hefty discount to anybody who's trying to rehome a dog with separation issues, so that any separation work can be helped once they go into their new home as well. So please don't feel that there's no other options for that dog, because it can be helped. It really can. It just needs the right angle.
there's a reason why you're a VSPDT, a Victoria Stilwell Positively Dog Trainer, as well as the founder of the Poochie People. You are amazing, and you're an amazing trainer for so many dog issues, but especially for separation issues. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast, taking time and sharing your knowledge with our listeners. We really, really appreciate it. If people need to get in contact with you, where would they go?
So my handles are on all social media is just the Poochie People, at the Poochie People, and my website is thepoochiepeople.com. I kept it nice and simple, so everything's just straight the Poochie People. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been really nice to catch up and to chat about it.
Always a pleasure, Nicola. You take care.
You too.
Well, this was an amazing podcast today. And separation anxiety or separation issues are such an issue, not just obviously in the UK, but all around the world. So please do reach out to a practitioner, and they can really help you. And of course, for those of you who are excited about, wow, what is this new approach to reactivity? I encourage you, you can already take the course that's out there at positively.com, Help Stop Reactivity. It's 4 lessons that make up the course, and anybody can do that. But VSA, Victoria Stilwell Academy, will be launching the Reactivity, the Zones Approach for professionals, and that will be coming out in September. If you've already taken the 4 reactivity lessons at positively.com, if you've already taken those, then what you paid for them, we take off if you want to go and do the professional course as well. So we take what you have paid for. That helps stop reactivity. We take that off what you would owe us to take the big course. So it's a win-win situation. It really is. It's opening up a whole new world for trainers, for guardians, and for dogs, bringing safety and relief to them. And I'm really excited about it. So, wow, this has been an amazing podcast. I hope that you're all doing well, that you are not too hot. It is crazy hot here where I am at the moment, but I hope that you are keeping cool, keeping your pets cool, and we'll see you again on another podcast. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to Victoria Stilwell's Positively podcast. For Victoria's online dog training courses, more information, and helpful dog training tips, visit Victoria's official website at positively.com. Get connected on Facebook, Instagram, and other social media as Victoria Stilwell, and follow her on Twitter at Victoria S. Learn to become a professional dog trainer with the Victoria Stilwell Academy at vsdogtrainingacademy.com. And be sure to tune in next time as Victoria helps you and your dog live your best life together, positively.